and call the Board of Commissioners of the Florida Housing Authority to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Chairman Taché.
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Sahadi.
Here.
Commissioner Burns absent. Commissioner Underhill.
Here.
Commissioner Aguilar.
Here.
Attorney Souza, would you please read the open meeting law advisory, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20F?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The language for the open meeting law is as follows. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Thank you. Before we begin the agenda for this evening, we offer 15 minutes of public input, 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone who would like to address the board before we begin? Hearing none, I would like to also announce that we have a new finance director at the Housing Authority, and I'd like to introduce Melissa Mello, and we welcome her aboard. Thank you. Okay. Item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held on July 8, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, the motion carries. Item 2, bills and communications, A, vouchers. Tim?
Yeah, the bills are recommended to be approved. They've been put on the table for everyone to review.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor? Aye, the
Aye.
motion carries. Items for a report of the secretary. A, managed reports. Number 1, applications. Number 2, occupancy report. Number 3, tenants accounts receivable. Number 4, work order report. Number 5, public housing performance indicator. If there are no questions or concern, a motion is in order to approve all 5 items.
Motion approved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye, the motion
Aye.
carries. Item B, monthly finance reports. Recommended action to approve. Tim?
Yes, this is for the quarter ending June 30th, our first quarter of fiscal year. And all the programs are operating within budget at this point. It's still early in the fiscal year. Obviously, we have 9 months to go. So we continue to monitor, but everything is going okay accordingly, I guess.
Are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Hearing none, a motion to approve is in order.
Motion approved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Item D, state quarterly operating statements for period ending June 30, 2019. Recommended action to accept. Tim?
Yeah, we have received authorization of $2.2 million from DHCD and expended $1.97 million. So the projects are proceeding as we have planned.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, a motion approved.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, the motion
Aye.
carries. Item E, audit services contract FY3.
Oh, excuse me, we have, let's see, D, the state quarterly operating?
Yeah, we just did that.
No, he didn't.
No, that'll be the reports we sent.
Okay.
Yeah,
State quarterly operating statements for period ending June 30th, right?
correct.
Okay. Any comments?
Just that these are the statements we send to DHCD. We have been spending our reserves down a little bit for the vacancies going on in Maple Gardens. So next month, once we close July, during August, we'll analyze what our reserves are at and be sending a formal request to DHCD to utilize those reserves. We have, in the previous report, we have received funds for modernization through DHCD for those vacant units, and there's an item later on for those, and we're using those for the large project, but we have a lot of needs out of the operating budget, and we do have to seek their permission.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
Motion accept.
Motion's been made, second, all in favor? Aye, the motion carries. Item E and F, audit services contract for fiscal year 3/31/19. Recommended action approve contract for Markham LLP in the amount not to exceed $20,000. And a second one, AUP audit services contract, recommended action not to exceed $4,200. Can you explain to us, Tim, why we have 2 contracts?
Sure. The first contract for $20,000 is to do all the programs, including the state. The second contract for $4,200 A couple of years ago, DHCD required this additional audit, which is called AUP, stands for Agreed Upon Procedures. It's a collaboration between DHCD and the auditors to come up with a more in-depth review of the state program. So DHCD did add that money to our annual a few years back. It hasn't increased. So that additional audit is required, and they go through items, accounts receivable, our operating reserves, collection losses, so just more in depth and detail, as well as the procedures we have installed, say, in maintenance. So that's an additional review that the auditors.
Did you have a
perform.
chance to discuss both these items with Commissioner Sahadi?
We did, we went through these. These are only gonna be one-year contracts, and we will be going out to bid next year. I think it's, the advantage here also is that with the new finance director, it's good to have auditors that have gone through it before. And once Melissa's up to speed, I think additionally it'd be to her benefit to maybe get a new set of eyes on what's going on. So we will be seeking new, we'll put out new bids. It may be the same firm, but that'll happen
Okay.
late fall or early winter.
Just one question and then a comment. What was the fee last year?
Very similar. It was, I'd say close to 23,000, 22. If there was a 5% variance, I'd be surprised. I had Nella research it. I
Okay.
didn't get the exact number, but it wasn't substantially different.
Okay. In full transparency, I'll be abstaining from this. My firm currently is suing Markham for ethics violations.
That's understandable. Any other comments from any of the commissioners? Hearing none, a motion is in order to approve items E and F at the same time.
Motion made.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Commissioner Sahadi abstains.
And if I can just throw in one item of clarification, our past year's firm of Guyder Hurley, they merged or were bought by Markham, but this, and your ethics violation is with Markham?
With Markham.
Okay, so although it is Markham we're contracting with, the actual individuals doing the audit will be from Guyder Hurley, just, as a clarification. But I understand that issue.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item 4, new business, modernization. Item A, certificate of substantial completion for exterior sealants and coatings at Frank B. Oliver Apartments. Tim?
I'm gonna let Kevin address these, please, Kevin.
So that project is substantially complete. We did exterior sealant coatings to seal the building, and sealants are all the new caulking around the windows and air conditioning units. And if you have an opportunity to go by there, it came out really good.
Thank you. Any questions from any of the commissioners? Hearing none, a motion to approve is in order.
Motion approved. Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye, the motion carries. Item B, change order number 1 for exterior buildings envelope repairs at Bait/Tower Apartment. Change order number 1 is an increase in the contract amount of $25,078 for 2 work items. Tim?
Kevin?
So the first item is the larger, makes up a larger amount, it's $22,000. It's to replace a full box bay window that covers 2 apartments in the rear, which is exactly what we're doing now in phase 1, but we wouldn't get to that normally until next year in phase 2. We have some water infiltration issues in those 2 units, so while the contractor was mobilized, we wanted to try to address that. And then the second part of that change order proposal is maybe a little over $3,000, and that's to repair spalling bricks at 5 locations under the windowsills in preparation for our REAC inspections, because those would be a big deficiency in the scoring of the building exterior.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Hearing none, a motion to approve is in order.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye, the motion carries. Item C, contract award for office conversion at Collins Madeira Towers. Recommended action, award a contract to the low bidder, Collins Construction Incorporated, in the amount of $49,665. Tim or Kevin?
Kevin?
So this project is to relocate the tenant council offices from the Chicago de Ferrios to Cardinal Maderas and convert a two-bedroom apartment into office space. So we'll be replacing ceilings, flooring, removing a little bit of wall space, some other lighting, receptacles, plugs, window treatments. And Collins Construction, there were two bidders. They were the low bidder, very reputable company locally too from Fall River.
Commissioner Underhill, do you have any concerns?
No, we're satisfied.
You're
I don't know where with Kevin.
Okay, a motion is in order to approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor? Aye, the motion carries. Item D, contract award for vacancy reduction at Maple Gardens. Recommended action, award contract to the low bidder J.J. Cardozi Incorporated in the amount of $361,000 for 13 units. Kevin?
If I can just jump in here, my apology for doing that. This is in regards to those long-term vacant units I mentioned earlier at Maple Gardens. We did receive authorization to spend about $500,000. So we have a total of 20 units, but this takes care of 13 units, and we're very hopeful that with the extra authorizations of funds and some added monies, we can also attend to those other 7 units. As far as the specifics of the bid, Kevin, I'll let you handle that.
So that is correct, what Tim has mentioned. The bids came in under the budget that was allowed for it, so we more than likely will be able to address those 7 units. It'll be new flooring, new kitchens, new bathrooms, abatement of the flooring, asbestos abatement.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, a motion in order to approve.
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item E, CBI Consultants, LLC for elevator repairs at Cardinal Maderas Towers. Recommended action, information, contract amount $75,000 and estimated construction cost $530,000.
So yeah, this is the beginning of our program to replace the elevators at our elderly sites. CBI Consultants prioritized the needs for elevator replacement. They put Cardinal Maderas at the top of the list for the 2 elevators. The second phase, they said, should go to Holmes Apartment, and then the third would come back to Cardinal, and then we would address the other elderly sites. So the first phase calls for decommissioning 1 elevator, replacing 1, fully modernized elevator. We've looked at the units in the building, how many elevators would be available. We have assurances from CBI that there's no violation of building codes and whatnot. So that, in the end game, we'd have 3 elevators to service 200 units, which is about 68 units per elevator. Baresi has 2 elevators, 150 units, so there's 75 elevators. 75 units per elevator. This building has 50 units per elevator. So the cost to decommission the 1 elevator, which has been out of service for over a year, is about $50,000. The cost to replace a new one is $500,000 or more. So we think it's definitely worth trying that alternative. They'll be new, so they should be more efficient. There still is a concern that we have the Section 8 office, which is additional traffic. So we're going to revisit that as far as getting alternative access into the building for those clients who come down there. We took a rough look at it a year ago. Since then, we've tried to make some changes to the traffic flow with cars. We've put up for lack of a better word, an ambassador who would help people come in and direct them to where they're going, but we want to look for a hard, permanent solution. So Kevin's going to be contacting the architect, and we'll be brainstorming on what we can do to alleviate that. In worst case, 6-7 years down the road, If we have to bring that fourth elevator back on, well, we've spent 50, it's not a lost cause, but I think to just throw $500,000 at a solution where it's a lot of our annual allotment of capital funds, that might be more prudent to see if we can address it another way. It won't be cheap, I don't think, because, it's not an easy solution, but it's worth looking into.
I'd like to hear from Commissioner Underhill, because he's been very much involved with this, along with Commissioner Aguirre. Commissioner Underhill?
Yeah, the decommissioning of the fourth elevator, I'm not too keen on that. I don't think it's gonna work. I think for the amount of money that it costs to decommission it, that if we just sink the extra money into repairing it and just having that being used by the Section 8 clientele when during business hours, Monday through Friday from 8 to 4, say, just have it set so it only goes down to the sea level and the other tenants can't use it during those hours. And then for nighttime and for the weekends, it would be back up and running, so we would have 4 elevators working. I think the traffic in that building is different than here or Holmes or anywhere else. We have a lot of disabled, a lot of sick people there. There's constantly nurses coming in, there's home health aides, and not to mention on certain times of the month when it's overrun with pizza delivery guys and, that type of thing. It's a lot more than just 200 units using those elevators. And I think we need 4, and I think we should find a way to make that work.
Commissioner Aguirre?
I agree with Commissioner Underhill. There's a lot of traffic in that building, different than any of them that we have. Mrs. Spadella, when you provided us with some figures, you provided us with the figures of $75,000, which was for the engineering study type of thing as to what could be done with the elevators. Then there was a roughly $500,000 figure. The $500,000 figure was an estimate to repair the 3rd elevator, which we're having problems with now. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
And decommission is the one that's.
All right. How much approximately, if we went a different direction and let's say, for example, decided to build a ramp outside, for outside exit to Section 8, or some other way of entering that building, approximately, do you have an idea of what that may cost? Because I know it's going to involve underground utilities, so forth and so on, going through walls. Rough estimate, would you have that?
2 to 250, 250,000.
How much would it cost us to redo the 4th elevator? And so we had 4 working elevators at Cottle Maderas.
So to put in a ramp, you're roughly looking at $200,000 to $250,000. To do a complete rehab of an elevator cab, like we would be doing with 3, is $490,000, $495,000. So you're talking a difference of another $200,000 to $220,000. You'd have a complete rehab of the elevator.
Would it make sense, and I'm only asking, would it make sense to spend the extra $200,000, $250,000 on an inside elevator designated directly for Section 8, rather than come up with other ideas that may or may not work, outside elevators, ramps and so forth, that we have to deal with the weather? Do we have the money budgeted in our 5-year plan to rehab all 4 elevators at Cottle Maderas?
I believe it would make sense because in our phone conference with the engineers, a complete rehab would give us about 25 years of useful life. And with the extra funding that we received from HUD, I did allocate just under $2 million in the 5-year plan for the different sites of elevators. So as Mr. Barrow was explaining, if we did 2 elevators at Cardinal and then 2 at Holmes, and then each year that I update the CFP, I could keep allocating additional funds for elevators. When we had the feasibility study done in the beginning of the year, back in February, we constantly have problems with our elevators. They're aged. They're reaching the end of their useful life. That was the purpose of having this feasibility study done. And strategically, we want to start attacking 2 at a time. All of the buildings only have 2 elevators with the exception of Cardinal has 4.
Cardinal has 4 because it was designed, and obviously they put 4 in because of the number of residents. Probably that was a need, they felt there was a need for 4 elevators. And now, not only do we have the residents, we have Section 8 downstairs, which increases the population and the usage of those elevators. So therefore, in my opinion, it makes sense, rather than go try to find another way of getting to Section 8 through the outside entrance, ramp, whatever it may be, if we have it, to spend that extra money and have 4 usable elevators within that building, one that would be designated during the week directly down to the Section 8 office, which does not interfere with deliveries. The residents, nurses, people who are coming in, health aides and so forth, they would have access to 4 elevators. I realize this is not going to happen all at one time, that you have priorities, a couple at Cardinal, go over to Holmes, back to Cardinal. I would recommend that we do the 4 elevators.
Can I just add, if
Sure.
if the board feels in that regard that we have CBI come back with a proposal in that regard, they expressed to us too, it's necessary that when they do an elevator replacement, if they have 2 elevators or 4, that they be done in pairs. So in this case, it's not that we could do 1 elevator now and wait a year and do another, because the 2 sets of elevators, each pair runs off the same control system.
Okay.
Just so they, in that spirit, they'd have to come back with a proposal to do 2 elevators.
Are they 2 elevators that run side by side?
Correct. So it'd be the one that,
So right now, we have the 2 furthest one, the on the far left and the far right are both the 2 that are down. So if they came in to fix the one on the far left, they would want to work on the one right next to it also at the same time, which is working right now.
correct.
So that would put us down to 1 elevator.
Or the one that we were gonna have decommissioned has been out of service for over a year.
Long time, yeah.
The other one has been out of service for how long?
Going on, getting close to 2 months. It was on and off. They'd come and fix it. It would run for a day or 2 and then break down again.
So why don't I have Kevin go back with them to see which pair they would fix? I mean,
Okay.
there's a chance of getting that 4th one up.
If they
But we
could,
know that first elevator is not coming
Right.
up. And if we follow the plan, after we do the initial elevators at Cardinal, we have to go to Holmes.
yeah.
And then come back to Cardinal. I believe that's the scenario they have laid out.
Right.
So why don't we have that information for the next meeting for the board?
Okay.
Commissioner Sahadi, you have any questions? Or?
No, I'm just listening to the conversation here. I'd like to see CBI come back and really give us an idea, because I'm guessing now, based on the elevator configuration, we're really talking about 4 elevators that all need repair if they do them in pairs of
They do.
2. So now,
Authority-wide, all the elevators need replacing.
so then what are we talking about in terms of
I think the
cost?
conversation has been very informative. The fact that we have one that we want to decommission, we have a second one that's a problem. What happens if we have a 3rd elevator give us a problem the next 2 or 3 weeks from now?
Yeah.
Then we have a serious problem.
Serious problem.
And I kind of like what Commissioners Aguirre, I think we ought to go for repairing, so we have 4 elevators at one time.
Okay.
So have Kevin go back and let's bring it up at the next meeting and move forward.
Do you need a motion for that, or just
I would do a motion just for the
make a
record.
motion that
If I can just add one
Go
more
ahead,
thing.
yes, please.
To do this, you probably look at 36 to 40 weeks. So,
That's
whatever
okay.
you, I would serve at the pleasure of the board, you push it now with another month with issues with elevators.
Well, to get it solved for 20 years, it's worth waiting 30 days, I think.
Just-
Agreed.
Kevin, would,
Just so you know, you're not replacing a window.
Yeah, we know
Yeah,
that.
we know that.
We know
do
that.
you know, you probably don't know which elevator they would start with?
Well, if we were not gonna decommission one,
They would start with that one?
do that one and the one on the side of it, as Tim said, they wouldn't use that.
Would they get the fourth one up and running, the one that hasn't been running for a couple of months? Would they get that somehow working again, so we would be running with two at all times?
Yeah, in all honesty, I know we've had some issues with
Yeah.
that, but I assumed it was running, we had to.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact problem is. I heard that it overheats, and that when it gets too hot, that it shuts
We
down.
need two elevators
Yeah.
operational.
Yeah,
But if you have 4 elevators, side by side,
yep,
and they have to do side by side,
yep,
okay, so these 2 are working.
yeah, the two in the middle,
This one and this one are not.
right,
So if they're gonna do these 2,
yeah,
they start with this one over here that's not working, you still got your 2 in the middle that are working,
okay,
this one's finished, this one is still working, so you still got your 2, and
Then
then
they
they
go
start
down.
on this one.
Is that how they do it? They don't shut down, if we had all 4 working for some reason and we're gonna replace them, would they shut 2 down automatically?
Well, they work in pairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do they need to shut them both down while they're working on one? I don't know, I think,
Okay, well,
Okay.
you can find out.
yeah, we'll need to find that out. Okay,
I think they can get the other one operational
Yeah,
during business hours.
I would just say they don't because you have a building such as this with 2 elevators.
yeah,
So you're not gonna take them both
I
down.
can't,
Right.
I don't wanna speak on it too.
Yeah, no, okay.
You know, that.
no, I'm just glad we're addressing it because I think it's a serious problem.
So I'll make a motion that Mr. Spadella provide the board with the information that we need to replace all 4 elevators at Cabo Maderas, not decommission any, and the easiest, the most feasible, and least expensive way to do it
And we'd like this for the next meeting.
for the next meeting.
Would,
Hopefully, so that it can be included in the packet, so that we can review it before the meeting, if at all possible.
would the board like me to reach out to the consultants to see if they would attend the meeting to answer any questions? We do that on occasion. And
Might
that
not
way
be a
we
bad
get-
idea.
I'd
Yeah.
like to talk to them, yeah.
Yeah,
Why not?
Yeah, good idea.
I'm not an
Sure.
elevator expert or an engineer, so
Sure.
maybe it might be
yeah.
best.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to them.
It just makes no sense to me to spend $250,000 or $500,000 to build a ramp on the outside, or whatever it may be. Meanwhile, we got an elevator sitting there for another $200,000. We could have 4 inside elevators, not affected by the weather. One could be designated for downstairs. The tenants will be happy, the delivery people will be happy. It'll be a safety concern that we've eliminated, and everything should be working, hopefully working fine.
Trish Hager, would you redefine your motion? You know, that we'd like Kevin to come back with us. and have-
Have Mr.
Have
Spadella provide
Mr.
the board.
Spadella report to the board for the next meeting on the feasibility of replacing all 4 elevators at Cabo Maderas, not decommissioning any, and he can invite
CBI.
the architect, whoever it is that he needs to invite
Yeah.
to the meeting in case the commissioners have any questions.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor? Aye, the motion carried.
thank you.
Item, next is miscellaneous. A, Section 8 SEM MAP score 100% high performance. That sounds good. Tim?
Yes, this is the annual review HUD does of the Section 8 program for the year, and Kerry Ferrius and her group attained a perfect score, so they are designated a high performer, so
Terrific.
good job there.
Thank you. Item B, HUD mainstream vouchers. Recommended action, approve the application. Tim?
Yes, the mainstream vouchers are to provide our Section 8 vouchers for the homeless population. It's a grant that's available from HUD. It would end up with us receiving additional vouchers, an additional allotment. One of the requirements is that we collaborate with a social service agency currently providing services to the homeless population. We'll be working with Stepping Stone. They've already committed to 30 vouchers, and they'll provide case management services for the homeless population, recommending those individuals they feel are capable of maintaining a presence in a residence. And we, as the authority, will just be administering the program as we will normally do. Stepping Stone will reach out to landlords too, and they'll be
Very good.
qualified. So it's a big push, and I think it works in connection with the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness. You know, they've got a big buy-in with this program, so it should be benefit everybody.
Excellent, thank you. Item C, annual performance review by DHCD. This is information only, Tim?
Yes, the DHCD performs an annual review of the authority operations, so they came down, they were very happy with the changes we've implemented over the past year, particularly with the work order system that Kevin has initiated. And overall, they were satisfied with the different components, the occupancy rate, the tenant accounts receivable. They do have some concerns on the operating reserves, again, which I alluded to earlier, and that's due to the long-standing problems with the vacancy. So I'll provide the final report, it should be out next month.
Okay, great. Item D, basements at Maple Gardens. Recommended action, discontinue resident use of basement areas as residents vacate. I understand Ms. Morissette's going to brief us?
Yeah, Deb, would you like to?
Yes, we've had issues with groundwater and also water seeping through. It's caused the deterioration of the cement walls at the base and also on the wood partitions that separate the four private basements. One of the other issues that we have is that residents are storing personal belongings there, they're getting wet, and then if they're not removed right away, it's causing a potential mold issue. So what we would like to do as residents vacate is do away with tenant storage in the basements.
Excellent, good job. Any questions from any of the commissioners?
Motion approved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye, the motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, before we go into personnel, if I may, at the last meeting, I asked for a report on the air-conditioned situation up at Cotton Maderas as well. We were provided with some information, and there was a study done at which Mr. Commissioner Underhill, Mr. Gang had attended, and I have a timeline which was presented to us that by the end of August was to advertise for bids for permanent installation of air conditioning equipment for that community room. At the end of September, the bids would be due. October meeting would be to award the contract and to start the process of replacing those portable air conditioners with permanent ones. Mrs. Spadella, is that correct?
It is, that's the estimated schedule given to me by the project engineer. There are a few obstacles there. It's a large community room, many obstacles in the ceiling, water lines, sprinkler lines, and electrical issues. So based on their observation, that's a tentative estimated construction schedule. We would advertise the end of August, bids would be due in September, award at the October board meeting and be at substantial completion in November.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners? That was information only. Its process is in the work, so do we need a motion for anything?
Make a motion that we advertise for bids in August and follow the procedure.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion carries. Personnel. A, Director of Modernization position. Recommended action, ratify permission to post on the website. Tim?
Yes, we've gone out and advertised through a couple sources, and we did receive resumes. So what I'd like to do is, after, hopefully the board will ratify that we did that, then set up a committee to start the interviews hopefully next week.
Any questions or comments? Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second, all in favor, motion carried. Item B, resignation of an employee, Section 8 Department. Recommended action, accept the resignation of Karen Hall, clerk interview effective July 31st, 2019. The motion is in order.
Motion to accept.
And second, all in
Second.
favor, the motion carried. Item C, clerk interviewer position, Section 8 Department. Recommended ratify in-house posting and on our website. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, a motion to approve is in order.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, the motion
Aye.
carried. Item D, retirement of employee. Recommended action, approve retirement of Richard White, painter, effective August 6, 2019.
Motion approved and wish him well.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, the motion
Aye.
carried. Item E, painter position. Recommended action, ratify in-house posting.
Motion opposed.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye, the motion carried. Item F, temporary maintenance mechanic / floater position, second shift. Recommended action, ratify in-house posting.
And just as some background, we have the current permanent second shift employees out on workers' comp. So we've had to fill that position with overtime. So until he returns, we thought we would just advertise and have someone assume that position temporarily.
Thank you. Item G, executive director position.
We need to vote on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion
I
approved.
apologize.
Motion second.
All those in favor? Aye, the motion carried. Now we get to G, executive director contract. Recommended action, approve amendment of contract expiration date from 12/19/2021 to 3/31/2022 per DHCD guidance.
DHCD is requiring that an executive director's contract end on the authority's fiscal year end. Everything else that we sent up then was fine, that the board had approved back in December. So this would extend the current contract by a mere 3.5 months, if we went out to 2022. Conversely, we could go back to 2021, but I prefer 2022.
Motion to accept the contract as proposed.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Aguirre?
Yes.
Commissioner Sahadi?
Yes.
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Chairman Tache?
Yes. Item H, union negotiations update. As stipulated on the agenda, we anticipate executive session in accordance with MGL Chapter 38, Section 21A2 and A3 to conduct collective bargaining sessions and to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, F3 Council 93, Local 1990. As chairman of this board, I hereby declare that if the discussion relative to this litigation is taken up in open session, it will have a detrimental effect on the negotiating authority of the Affordable Housing Authority. We have a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Aguirre?
Yes.
Commissioner Sahadi?
Yes.
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Chairman Tache?
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in open session. Is there any new business or old business to come before the chair? Hearing none, a motion is in order to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The meeting has adjourned.
Thank you.